This call is now being recorded. This call is now being transcribed.
Okay, I'm going to start with a download of exactly what eclipses do, really briefly, what the eclipse cycle looks like in terms of like time frame overall for the next 1.5 years and for the next month. So this part of the eclipse cycle. So here you can see I've drawn a very terribly rudimentary roadmap. And this point right here is supposed to be the moment we're born. And this part here is supposed to be the end of our life. Now, eclipses come as course corrections on the soul path of life. Okay. So if this is kind of like your soul expression, where your divine blueprint, as we say, your soul's roadmap for this life in its aligned journey is to end up somewhere around here, then on the journey of our life, there's certain milestones that we need to hit. Need is a strong word because, of course, we have free will. But these milestones are important parts where we kind of converge or come back together on this divine roadmap and kind of hit those points. So these could look like, say, a marriage. Well, we would want to put that one a little bit further back. Marriage, or maybe going to school or university or any kind of like training that you do, important relationships, childbirth, having a baby, getting married. This could be like the death of a parent or a loved one at any point along here, deciding, depending on how your soul has timed things out for you. Okay, so these really, really big milestones. And then along the way, we also have these little tiny milestones within them. Okay. And these are what we'll call the eclipses. Okay. So in between milestones, we've got our little off-roading vehicle is how I like to picture it. Like, this is the highway. Okay. There's, lanes on the highway. It's easy to traverse. No one here is just staying on the highway their whole life. In between these little milestone moments, we decide to go off-roading. Okay. So we take our like 4x4 car, and instead of taking the main straight road there, we're like, oh, I'm going to take this detour or that detour. So we get to go off-road and explore a little bit. I like to joke about how we might find a nice campsite that we like and set up camp there, maybe in a 7-year relationship that isn't meant to go the long haul, but it is an important learning phase. This is why, there really aren't any regrets, truly, because it's all meant to be, and it's all allowed, and it's all purposeful. But depending how far off of this roadmap we get, eclipses come to bring us back. They're like a course correction, realigning us to that divine blueprint. Okay. So they help us get on track for these big milestones that are coming. And the milestones, even though they are sometimes, they can be traumatic, they can also be really incredible learning points. Like having a baby is both hard and the most amazing thing you'll do at the same time, right? So in between these milestones, we get to go off-roading, explore different parts, use our free will to adventure, right? But then when an eclipse comes, eclipses nudge us back towards the highway, saying, okay, you've been over here a little bit too long. Now it's time to get back. And this is where I say with eclipses, it can sometimes override our free will. Of course, it's all divinely planned, so it's not like it's actually overriding our free will, but life happens to us during eclipse season. Okay, things happen whether we like it or not. We get less choice. If there's a relationship that you're not meant to be in, for example, then that person might step outside of the relationship or might do something so, abrasive that you can't pretend anymore, those types of things. Okay. Similar like a job. If you've been wanting to leave your job, if your soul has other things planned for you, like this might be starting your own business, right? Becoming an entrepreneur or losing a job so that you can reach a higher octave at a new place of employment that's more aligned. During an eclipse, that might be a time when you're laid off, for example. Okay. So these course corrections bring us back to the main highway. And then again, in between, we get to travel a little bit further off and come back. Now, yeah, that's all for that part. Okay. So let's move into this kind of download of how eclipse cycles work. So 1.5 years is a general eclipse cycle. Okay, so they happen in these cycles of 3, where we have for this one, the first big eclipse in this 1.5-year cycle, which I'm calling like the spark that starts the fire, is fall 2025. So happening right now or soon, with September 7th being that first eclipse. The middle point of this eclipse cycle is spring 2026. So that's when the fire is like raging and burning out of control. And then the end, the third and final eclipse of this overall eclipse cycle is in fall of 2026. So a year from now. So basically we have the sparks of the fire that we're igniting now will be embers or will be fading out this time next year. So we'll fully see the fruits and the consequences came to mind, but I don't like that word because it feels way too intense. The fruits and the results of the shifts that have taken part over the last year and a half, over the last year, over the last year. The reason why I said a year and a half was because in spring of 2025, we had one like a mini. So it was kind of like the entering into, so that technically this eclipse cycle has already kind of started sparking. It's almost like, you know, you have your Flintstones and you start sparking that fire for before you finally get the spark that really ignites and lasts. We did have that spark happening last spring. Okay. So eclipses work with the nodes of the moon. So we have the north node and the south node, and these are destiny points for all of the collective and for yourself. We have our own nodes as well, but the nodes in the sky move through certain signs during eclipses. And during this eclipse, the nodes will be in Pisces and Virgo. So this specific eclipse cycle is Pisces, Virgo axis. And if you have points in your chart that are in this axis, then this will be an extremely intense eclipse cycle, potent eclipse cycle for you. Okay. So we're working with this Virgo and Pisces energy. So let's look at the timeline of the eclipse portal for this specific fall 2025 spark. Okay. We already are slightly in it. Okay. So the new moon that happened on August 23rd, just a few days ago, is kicking off because it's in the same sign, Virgo, that the final solar eclipse will be in 29 degrees Virgo. That's actually the very end degree of Virgo, and this is the very beginning degree. So this eclipse is like a washing through Virgo energy, and Virgo is an archetype in the chart, in the zodiac, and you have Virgo somewhere in your personal zodiac. And that's what we're going to look at when we do your eclipse transit reading. So in terms of the cycle of this specific eclipse for fall, we had the new moon already attuning us. We're already feeling into the energy. And then specifically for the eclipse portal, each eclipse is a lunar and solar eclipse. It's a combination of two, and that's a full moon preceded by a new moon 2 weeks apart. Okay. So full moons, new moons, full moons, always a 2-week cycle. And when we track the cycles of the moon in the cosmic wisdom portal, we're always attuning every 2 weeks to what wants to be made new, what wants to be released, what wants to be made new on a new moon, what wants to be released on a full moon. Okay. So on September 7th, we have a lunar eclipse in Pisces, and lunar eclipses are our inner world. So that illuminates our inside, our emotional kind of nature. And the solar eclipse is the outer world. The sun with the solar eclipse, so the moon with the lunar eclipse illuminates our inner reality, and shifts will start to take place there on the inside. We'll purge, we'll move through, we'll feel big things, right? And then 2 weeks later with the solar eclipse, the sun illuminates the outside world. So a solar eclipse comes and actually changes things outside of us. So it's as within, so without. So the inner changes that take place between really now, because we are in that Virgo energy, and the lunar eclipse on September 7th, will then start to manifest outside of us during the solar eclipse on September 21st. Okay. And then we're through the eclipse portal. You can expect big changes. You can expect to let go, maybe take some risks, maybe, like get nudged back, and really knowing where this eclipse is happening in your specific chart. So what area of life wants to shift and be made new? That's why we do these eclipse transit readings, because eclipses can be a little bit scary. They can be like a contraction, especially for people that don't take a lot of risks or don't love, change. By knowing exactly where the eclipse is affecting you in your life, we can prepare you, and that this is coming, and this is for your greater good. That this is an alignment on your soul path, right? Like the things that people ask the most in soul readings are, what do I need to do to become more aligned with my soul path? Well, surrendering during an eclipse season, knowing exactly what's going to happen by getting a reading, and then being able to go with the flow and say, okay, I knew this is coming. I know this is for my higher good. And how can I best hold that container for myself to move through this eclipse cycle with grace? Okay. So that is kind of a download about eclipses in general. And now we'll move into your specific eclipse transit reading to see exactly where this is happening for you, the lunar eclipse and solar eclipse coming up.